All right, now with us on Tennis Channel Inside and special guest on this week's show. It's been a long time coming. Excited to talk to this person ever since I saw her actually on our Tennis Channel airwaves on Second Serve. But she's a two-time national champion at Florida. She was a three-time SEC Player of the Year for the Gators. Had a pro career, won a couple titles, 2 ITFs, 5 doubles. But that's not the full story. She got into coaching as well as becoming a certified nutritionist, running her own company, Embree Wellness. Joining the show now, Lauren Embry. Lauren, welcome to Tennis Channel Inside In. Excited to talk to you and let our audience hear a little bit about the different side of the sports world.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Definitely have the tennis background, but excited to talk about all things nutrition. You know, that's my love if you've listened to me on Tennis Channel before. So yeah, just really excited to be here.
Yeah, it's funny because we're going to start with your background. But when I was doing some intel and talking to the crew, some of the people that got to know you, they said passionate and confident, and then very, very.
Yes.
So I was like, perfect. I'll ask her to come on then.
Yeah, the passion is just like, I think it seeps through when I talk about it because it truly it hit home for me in so many ways. So that's probably part of it. But yeah, just like anytime people want to nerd out on nutrition, I'm your girl.
So your tennis story is interesting too, because you're a homegrown native Floridian. And I guess in this era, it's a little different because that's become the hub. Everyone for the training benefits goes there, but it was always your hometown. I know you moved from like Marcos Island to Miami and then obviously Gainesville, but what was it like actually being from Florida and catching the bug of tennis in that area where everyone seems to move to?
Totally. I mean, I had no idea when I was growing up. We were from a very small town. So we were just very traditional, like mom and pop. Dad would bring me out with my older brother every day. And I just, just kind of piggybacked on whatever they were doing. So I had a racket in my hand from a very, very early age. And I never went the academy route. I was in public school playing a couple hours out of the day, but my dad and my older brother, I had two of the best role models ever. So it was pretty simple and easy for me to catch on quick. Just to take the love of the sport and also just understand when I play and work hard with them and they beat me up on the court and stuff from just losing all the time, it molded me kind of into the competitive tennis player that I was. And without that upbringing, it was very unique because it was not like the rest of my competitors, but it worked for me and it got me to all my dreams and everything I wanted to do with the sport. So I just can't thank really how I was raised and how I was kind of molded into this sport throughout my with my parents and my brother and just the people that I was around growing up.
Yeah, that's that younger sibling theory, right? You just got used to losing. And you kept coming
Totally.
back for more, which is something special.
Yes,
not everybody,
exactly.
And not everybody comes back after suffering so many defeats. You did, and part of your story too is being, yeah. Part of your story too is being a late bloomer. If I have this right, you weren't really sure that you were going to take tennis as serious until later. So it wasn't until you were kind of into your teenage years that you thought, okay, I'm going to make a run at this. And then you became the number 2 recruit in the country. What was that transition period like to, okay, now it's time to get serious and really make a run at this?
Yeah, it's crazy. I actually don't even know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So growing up, I was actually pretty good. And that helped me because I had no idea that I was that good. So I was top in all of the age divisions growing up by going to school and just playing a little bit every day. But I did play every day. It's not like I just was this natural gifted, prodigy. I was definitely not that. But it just started to click around 7th, 8th grade. And I realized okay, I love this. I'm pretty solid at it. I'm having great results with training like this every day. And my dad just making a point to get me out there. If it was for an hour, if it was for 3 hours, I just saw I saw the tennis ball every day. And I just really loved competing and I loved training. So it was an easy decision to just hyper focus on tennis, probably around 7th, 8th grade, maybe 8th, 9th grade, because I was doing basketball, cross country, all these other sports, which were amazing for me. But really, I was able to just choose tennis myself, and it just maybe chose me. I don't know, but it worked, and I just ran with it and just had a lot of success from that point forward.
Yeah, you just did a great PSA there for not specializing sports too to a lot of parents out there that are thinking.
We're so young. Let us kind of figure out what we want to do. Let us learn our bodies. It just helps later in life, I think.
Yeah. And, the other thing you said too, I just thought of there was you gave my reasoning for getting people to go to like work out, go to the gym, whatever it may be, is kind of how you were raised with your dad. It might not be your best workout, but if you just get yourself there, you're going to do something and it's going to be progress. It sounds like that was your approach to tennis.
100%. Like, because I also had limited time. So I knew that I didn't have all the time in the world. So it was like, if I was going out to serve before the school, like I was always doing something before school and definitely doing something after. But it really was like, hey, if you can just go out for 30 minutes and serve, like that's a win for the day. So I don't even know if I had like days off. I just remember like sleeping over at my friends' places and just waking up before I could go on the boat and go practice and then go meet them again. And like, obviously sometimes I was like, oh my God, why is this me? But looking back, I was like, I'm so glad that my parents they never forced me to do it. They just asked me, was like, hey, just remember, like you have different obligations and you've got different goals and some of these people, and something worked because I kept doing it. So that was my dad.
So you were clearly a hot commodity on the recruiting trail. What was that process like for you? You end up having this storied, legendary career for the Gators. So what was the recruiting process like?
Oh man, it was wild. It's definitely different now than it was back in the day, but there's parts that kind of overlap. And I just was very open. I knew 100% that I wanted to go to college, even being the number one player in the country, being 5 in the world. Like I was just college driven. Again, wanted the education and wanted a chance to be on a team and play for national championships and things that I couldn't do as a junior. Obviously, it's a very individualized sport. So I just remember a lot of coaches contact me and watching me at tournaments. And I was almost just like, had no really idea what was going on. When you're in it, sometimes you don't really understand like the big deal from it until you're out of it. So looking back, when I was now a coach recruiting these girls, it's like, oh my gosh, we had all this pressure, but I didn't even feel pressure because I was just like in my element, doing my thing, like really confident on court. Like that's where I was my best self. So I had a lot of coaches come visit my house, like got to know my parents, got to know me. And I just connected so well with the Florida coaches. I mean, they were unbelievable, just humans and great coaches. And I just felt like home there. I had no ties to the University of Florida, even being from South Florida. It was never like a dream school. It just became a dream school as I started to get to know the staff and the people up there. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you trusted the program more in the people more than actually the school, which was great because that run ended up being legendary. You mentioned it, SEC Player of the Year 3 times, including your freshman year. That run, that whole era of Florida tennis was a special one. Why do you think it was the case where you were able to succeed and play well so early? And it was also, too, pointing out for fans of just the program, such a team-driven, camaraderie-driven environment in college tennis.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an easy answer, but it was 100% the people I was around. Like, I had the best teammates, the most supportive coaches, the most supportive school. Women's tennis obviously is not a revenue generating sport, but we felt like we were. Like, we had so many people show up and just support us. And like, even playing for national championships, like around my teammates who are still like my best friend to this day, like the culture there was unbelievable. And I was around ridiculous athletes at Florida. So looking at that coming in as a freshman, I was like, how do you not want to be the top tennis player in college when I'm around top athletes in their sport as well? So we were just like constantly surrounded by greatness. And I was like, I want to be a part of that. Let me just do what they're doing.
So you go to like the athlete gym and it's just insane.
Packed,
It's like
insane. Yeah. I mean, I had Tebow there. I had Elizabeth Beisel there. Like the lock, like there's so many just unbelievable athletes, tracks, winning back to back national championships. Like, I mean, tennis, we were great. But so many other sports were like just as dominant, which was like the most rare thing.
Was there a moment early? I know you succeeded right away. Was there a moment early where you get that imposter syndrome? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Like, I'm 18 years old.
Literally, yes, but at the same time, no, because it's not that I was like dumb, but I was just like, I had no idea what was going on. Like, my expectation was so low. I had 2 of the best leaders from a senior standpoint. So I had seniors that I just looked up to, and they were so good, and they were also like unbelievable people. So I really had no idea what was going on and what I was actually around until I was outside of it. And then I was like, holy crap. Like, that is wild what I was around. And I was part of that. And so were my teammates. But yeah, not one time. I just like put my head down and kind of did my thing, and everything else just kind of happened.
Did you have a favorite I guess, SEC place to play? Maybe even least favorite if that's the answer you want to go with.
Honestly, I thrived in like a high competition environment. So home matches obviously were the most fun thing ever because we got a great crowd because we were good. But I like loved like our rivals, obviously Georgia back in the day, and still is. And I just loved going there because it was hostile. Like they didn't like us. I felt like I thrived in environments like that. I was like, sure, bring it on, let's go. But the SEC is just loaded with talent. So anywhere we landed, I was just happy to compete. Honestly.
A lot of what you do now involves obviously nutrition, but you talk about athletes managing nerves and pressure situations. Wasn't really a problem for you though, in looking at how you clinched both your national championships for the clinching points on your racket. So why do you think as an athlete you were able to handle those pressure driven nerve filled moments?
Oh, I think a lot of different reasons. One, we were so confident in each other as a team. So I knew that even if I lost, like my girls had my back and vice versa. So that was just like natural for us to just like basically blood, sweat, tears out there. Like we knew we were going to be really hard to beat because we were so confident. And we were confident just in ourselves. And I think the self belief that you need as an athlete is really important. And the people I was around, my coaches, my parents, my junior coaches, like built me up to, regardless if they thought that or not, they made me believe it. So I was super confident on court. That's where I was the most confident probably in my life. And it transpires to how you perform in those pressure moments. Like if you really think you can believe it, or if you really believe that you can do it,
Yeah.
with X's and O's and with the mental, you don't need all that other riffraff stuff of, all that, those other things. Like that's kind of was our core, and we just believed in each other.
And do you think like going to the pro game, I mean, because you bring up great points, but that is lacking, right? You go from team camaraderie environment to you're just on your own. There's obviously the talent increase, which doesn't make things easier, but is that a huge, reality check when you go to the pros and you're just kind of on an island?
You nailed it. It was a huge reality check because as much as fun as school was, and as fun as the pro tour was as well, like, I mean,
Yeah.
me personally was losing so much on tour. And I was still doing
You guys
well,
don't
like
realize what
still.
that's like. Like that's another thing too, is like you players like yourself, excellent junior players, excellent college players. You're not used to losing. Then you get to the very
Correct.
top of the mountain, like get ready to lose every week.
Yeah, I was like falling off the mountain week after week, and which obviously takes a hit to your
Yeah.
psyche, right? But I also like like if there's one thing I could change, and I can be completely honest and transparent with myself, like I was very stubborn, so maybe sometimes I wasn't willing to take like a few steps back in order to go forward, and that's just like my young 22 immature year old self. But looking back, like if I was maybe more willing to do that, then maybe I would have, broken the top 100 or 150 or whatever it was. But those are lessons learned, and it molded me to who I was. But the tour had its own challenges and its own fun. They're just so different. But I will say that junior college, all of those life lessons kind of set me up to be able to handle myself on tour in the manner that I like wanted to handle myself and represent myself and all of those things. So there's a lot of good things that happen. But yeah, you lose way more on tour than we were losing in college. And that was kind of a shock.
You have, I mean, I know it's been a few years now, but do you have fond memories looking back at your pro career? Like no regrets, some regrets, or just happy with how it went down?
Honestly, like if I can really just be honest with myself, so happy with how everything went down. There's obviously things that I would change if I could go over and do it again, for sure. But I stopped and then went back, and I'm really happy I did that and not just stop. Like I'm happy I gave it myself kind of one more push after I had to stop the first time. But I also am like very happy that I didn't continue to do it because my heart was not there. So I just felt like it wasn't fair for my team behind me that was kind of helping support that. It's no secret, tennis is super expensive. So if I wasn't willing to put in like the 100% that I always had leading up to when I was like 27, then like why am I going to ask for people to support me in other ways if I'm not kind of giving it my all? And that was the tough conversation I had with myself, and I was okay with that. Like I was completely okay putting it to rest. I gave it everything I had. It's still in my life. Obviously, it was in my life shortly after that. So yeah, I'm happy that my path was my path.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to look at certain careers, but getting to the mountaintop is an accomplishment that deserves to be celebrated. And you were winning doubles titles, you were making a name for yourself, and you decided to go as far as your heart wanted you to go. So I think there's nothing obviously wrong in it's better than most could ever dream of. So that said, though, Lauren, you did play with some pretty impressive doubles partners, and a few of them are still going right now. So I know you played
Oh
with
yeah.
Muhammad, Alexa Garachi,
Oh yeah.
Jen Brady too, who's been on this show. I don't know if you have
Who's
anybody.
that?
Jen
Oh,
Brady too.
Jen Brady. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
both
mean,
people.
all of those girls are like
Yeah, yeah.
they're my friend, like my closest friends. I've known them since we were super small. So we have a special relationship, and I'm super like happy and proud that Asia's still out there crushing it, probably having one of her best years.
Mhm.
Alexa ended on a high note. She broke top 10, top 20 in doubles. Like those girls, and Jenny too, has always been just like so powerful and so strong and so good. So I'm proud and grateful to call them my friends because they're absolute legends.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. Those are three outstanding young women who have made a name for themselves and are still going, which is very good to see. More here with Lauren Embree on Tennis Channel Inside In, Embree Wellness and Nutrition. There's a lot going on there we're going to get to in just a second. But Lauren, you made that transition to coaching, and I'm wondering in your perspective, because we see it a lot, was it a natural progression for you? Was it a way to stay involved in the game or to help people? How did you start to get into coaching, first Pepperdine and then Florida?
Yeah, I just knew I always wanted to give back, honestly. I loved being in the space still. I wasn't really ready to give it up. And being able to be that role model and kind of relate to those girls in such a pivotal time of their life felt really like a great opportunity for me. So when the Pepperdine job came open, Perrin Nilsson, who's still there, absolutely dominating there, just, yeah, like gave me that opportunity. And I can really say I had two of the best head coaches from a just knowledge and being able to work for, like unbelievable guys, both Per and Roland, both Swedish, which is hilarious.
Mhm.
But yeah, like I went out on a high note. Was at Pepperdine, then at Florida, like around the best coaches. So that time for me, I learned so much as a coach. It's very different than being a player. And they really taught me just so many good life lessons, and obviously elevated my coaching career, and I got better doing it. So yeah, again, another like grateful moment for me in my career.
Yeah, that quote from your Florida coach and then someone you worked with, Roland Thornquist, he said your character was needed on the team when he recruited you. And I would imagine, too, that as a coach, that's part of what it is. You're helping people, but you're also, you were in that position, too, which you can relate to. You're shaping these lives at such young, moldable ages.
Totally. And it really is about them as a person. It's not necessarily like have to do it all on the tennis court. Like you have to be a solid person to be a good tennis player, I think. And just trying to teach them, things off the court and relate to them off the court is what made me like a pretty relatable and like kind of player coach kind of vibe that I had with the girls, because I had such a special relationship with each of them individually off court, so that when we were on court, they were able to trust me because they knew that I was looking out for them in the best way outside of the tennis court. Like there's so many other things that go into coaching, especially at that age. And I remember being that age, and half the time it had nothing to do, more than half the time it had zero to do with my tennis. It was whatever was going on outside of the tennis court. And I'm glad I had the coaches to help me understand that and to be there for me. So I wanted to be that, that person for those girls as well.
Yeah. So if I have this right, when you were in college, you started studying, was it sports management?
Yes.
Okay. See where I'm getting at with this. How did the journey to health and wellness and nutrition come to be? Was it something that happened during your playing career? Were you always curious? What was that process like?
Yeah, great question. And I love speaking on this because I went to school for sports management, really went to school for tennis. So I'll just leave you with that. But when I was transitioning from college to the tour, I got really sick in this like window of time. And I just remember feeling awful, had no energy, back hurt, had like so many issues. And I was like a high performing athlete about to go, start on tour, and just kind of got directed to all of these different doctors, spent like thousands of dollars on different tests, and nobody could figure it out. So somebody in LA actually told me to go to this functional medicine practice in Beverly Hills. And this guy, I kid you not, I hope he's still practicing, changed my whole life and world. It opened up my eyes to the power of nutrition and how correlated it is, the foods that you put inside your body, to how you feel. And it sounds obvious when I talk about it, but as a 22-year-old or even 21, 20-year-old, like I had zero clue, because I was just outputting so many calories. I just felt like I had to input so many. It didn't matter what I ate. Like I was never that was never a weight issue, was never a problem. But my internal self was on fire. Like my immune system was on fire because I was just consuming the wrong kinds of foods. So he changed my whole world into that. And from that point on, I kind of ran with it. And even though I didn't like fully go in and have a career in functional medicine, like I was always doing stuff as I was playing, as I was coaching, to kind of set me up for, I knew at some point I probably would pivot more to this like world and
Yep.
space. So that's what ended me up here, or landed me here, was just my own journey with like autoimmune and feeling awful and in pain and not knowing why.
Do you feel like too, as tennis players, and I always wanted to ask an actual player, you're the perfect person for this. When you're in the middle of these matches, right? When you're in the middle of certain things, you know, like, okay, quickly, this isn't right. Like I've maybe miscalculated. And then would it be too late? Because that seems to be what I've heard, is that when you feel something wrong, it's too late, and you've
Yeah, it's way too late. Like if you're cramping or about to cramp, it's like it's way too late to hydrate.
Yeah.
So like I knew that. And I actually, on the flip side of that, I vividly remember training at Saddlebrook like my last couple years and going through this whole thing and changing my diet and feeling like I could run through a wall at practice. So it like just completely shifted my energy levels. And I was in good shape because I had no weapons. My weapon was my feet. Like I had to play a long time and run a lot. So I just remember being able to train like an absolute, even more of a beast than I already was doing because I changed my nutrition. So that like light bulbs went off. But yeah, like if I underfuel or if I'm tired on court, it's because you're underfueling, or if you're hurt or you're inflamed all the time, it's the food. So if we can, like, that's why I like helping people figure that out.
Right. And not just because he made that sensational run to the final, but you watch someone like Taylor Fritz play, you see he's just got it figured down. He never tires in matches. He's just completely mastered
they're
that.
animals. Yeah, they've got that down to a science, and it's different for everybody. It works, differently for everybody. But those guys are in unbelievable shape, and they're eating super well.
So what would you say that active people, I'll say, maybe not professional athletes, but what do you think active people get wrong about nutrition the most from what you see? What's a common mistake or the most common mistake made?
Oh, how much time do I have?
Yeah.
Okay, a few of the top ones. They're not eating enough, right?
Okay.
So we're not eating enough of the right kind of food. So we're over consuming calories, under nourishing our body. It's a huge one. Calorie counting, like we are in this mindset of all calories are created equal when they're not. And then 3 is just underdosing themselves with protein. So like just not getting enough and feeling hungry all the time. The satiation comes from like whole foods and things like that. So as long as we can kind of change the narrative to counting macros, if you're going to count anything, and just how much protein, fat, carbs you're getting in relation to what you need, can be super helpful.
Company is called Embree Wellness, embreewellness.org. And I like the message. You say we're going to decode the power of nutrition so you can feel strong. So it's a very positive based company.
Yeah.
How did that business plan come to be, and how did you decide, okay, I want to do my own thing and put my name out there?
Yeah, it's been a evolving process, honestly. When I moved to Austin 2 years ago, I moved here for a functional medicine job. And when I really started that, I started building the business as I was doing that. So it's been like it's not just like I stopped my job and just did this. It's been an evolving process. I have a great team behind me. So I have an agent who helps kind of run a lot of the wellness talks I give and helps me just organize she's kind of the brains behind the biz. And I have a social media person that's helped me with that as well. So it's a team effort, and it has to be for it to run. And I'm learning every single day as I go. But I think that I had a cool story, my sports athletic background being relatable and just trying to help people. And like you said, the passion I think comes out because I feel so strongly about what it can do for people. So just wanted to be on a platform to help as many people as possible and just kind of, take the leap and dive in and see where I can take it.
Yeah, I think that's, it's obviously very brave and cool that you're becoming, an entrepreneur in a lot of ways. And this is really your passion. This isn't just a money making scheme. You really live this too. Why do you think, I guess, in that same regard, it's classified as holistic nutrition, holistic medicine? Why is that word a little taboo and maybe not as accepted, I'll say?
Yeah, I think it's just because it's not like tomorrow you're gonna wake up and see the results, right? It's trying to almost like convince the audience or the client or the patient that like if you keep with something, I mean, I think that's just a life lesson in general, but if you keep with something like with your food and your diet and your lifestyle and your habits, like it is amazing at what can come from that. And I just had actually an example this morning. I was talking to someone and they were like, "Well, Lauren, how long do you think I have to do this?" And I was like, what do you mean, how long? Like, hopefully the rest of your life. This is like why you're on a 3-month program with me so that you can almost just like be done with me and carry it on for the rest of your life. So it's just being able to understand that like this is a lifestyle. We're evolution. It's not like I have this and I have, I have diabetes forever. It's like you don't. We can like figure out the protocol to like maybe wean off some of this stuff and just feel a little bit better.
Yeah, and the best part, in my opinion, of what your message and your approach is the every journey, everybody is unique. It's not just a uniform, just do
Totally.
this, it'll work, because that's not how life and the human body works. Everyone is unique.
Yeah, and it's very individualized. And all of my clients and patients know that. Like, I'm not going to put everyone on one program and be like, oh, this worked for me, so it's going to work for you. And that's where I think the diets and the, all of the overwhelming conversations around nutrition can get confusing. So I want to try and make it as simple as possible for people to honestly use the power of nutrition to feel strong. Like, that's why the tagline's that. I feel very strongly about that, that it works. It's just going to be very unique based on your own lifestyle.
Yeah, and I've also noticed too, instead of just complete overhauls, you use phrases and like substitutes. Like, we're not going to just completely just destroy everything. We're just going to take certain things out and replace it with something a little healthier.
Exactly. Like there's this swap, like as we know, the tennis channel segment was a grocery swap, right? Like I'm actually about to do a 3-week grocery GPS course around all of that stuff. It's like 3 weeks, once a week, we talk about brands, labels, how to read labels, what to buy organic or not, like how to shop in the grocery store, just to make things simple for families and people and being on the road and just like yeah, having the declutterness of all this noise and just trying to keep it as simple as possible.
What's the response been like from the players? Some still playing, because I know you're really connected. You can also see who follows you on Instagram too. So I know you've got a lot next to the tennis world. But what's the response been like from the players?
Honestly, amazing. Like the support from just people like cheering you on from afar or just writing you like, hey, love what you're doing. Like I actually didn't realize like by me posting a video what people would have so much feedback from it and actually get so much out of it. So it's good for me too to understand feedback and what the audience is and what they want, because that's ultimately what I'm trying to do is just like promote the most effective and useful tools for people. So everyone that I played tennis with growing up, like I feel like we also share such a common like unique bond of going through this like grind of a sport together. So whenever anyone ever starts something on their own or retires or does something different, it's like we're clapping and cheering you on no matter what. And that's kind of like the underlying message, I think, with all tennis players, or most at least. So yeah, all of my friends have been unbelievable and just supporting the biz.
Right. I think it's cool. It's also, you probably have to think, right, like you started this you started this idea when you were playing, but do you ever just sit and think, man, this really would have helped me if I was 14, 15 and I got it early enough?
Do I ever, like every day I'm like, oh my gosh, if I knew this, maybe I'd still be like, out there, but I don't know if I'd want to do that. But yeah, like even in college, if I had half the knowledge of what I knew now, I think it would have been helpful in a lot of things. But I mean, it's never too late, right? So now it's
Right.
to give that message to college athletes and young athletes and just get the education in them young so that they can kind of carry it on a little bit earlier than maybe we did.
Yeah, and I also want to point out to everybody who's listening or watching, embreewellness.org, and in a world that's, costs are rising and everything, there's a lot of free and cool resources. You have recommendations, you have a blog, and you also have your Lauren's favorite section. So I know that there's parts there you can talk about to where it's not always going to be the most expensive thing. There's ways to get healthy without having to spend as much money.
Totally. And that's another thing I get all the time is it's expensive to eat healthy, which it is in this country. We make it very difficult, but I also try and provide a lot of, like you said, like free, helpful tips that can go a long way. So yeah, websites filled with them, even the courses and my consultations, like it's all up there of what we have access to. So would love people to just check it out and find it honestly helpful, and feedback is great. So really, I'm just trying to do whatever I can to make us a little bit healthier.
Well, now you're making the media rounds. This show, obviously, Second Serve. Was that your first time on like an actual television show?
Honestly, I think so. Like maybe back in the juniors, I did like a little like Wilson segment maybe, but I was 16. It was probably awful. So like I had no idea what I was doing. And I still, yeah. So being on Second Serve and for them to have me, I mean, those guys are great. They make it super easy and fun anyways. We were just like, I felt like it was just natural being up there and having the conversation and talking about something that I love to talk about. So yeah, I hope it went well and people enjoyed it.
Did you consider yourself a naturally good or gifted, confident speaker, or is that something you've grown into now that you have this platform and this passion?
Yeah, I think honestly, I love people. Like, I love being around people and I love talking and being face to face. Like, even when I consult with people, I like to do a Zoom or something. So I've always had that. My last functional medicine job was a lot of giving workshops and speaking engagements and stuff. So I got so much practice with just talking in front of people. I don't know. I'm definitely more like talking than writing. Like my writing isn't as great as speaking. So whenever anyone's like, "Hey, will you do a podcast or come on like actual film?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Just don't tell me to like write your essay or like a letter of rec." That's like what ChatGPT is for.
That's like, yeah, that's true. That's like a classic tennis player, though. You just know your skills and weaknesses. Like we're just
yeah.
Yes. Well, Warren Embry, this has been a blast. Before we go, I have to ask you a couple of things. One being, last year honored by the Gators into their Hall of Fame at the football game, which there are different ways to be inducted into Hall of Fame. That's pretty pressure packed. You're going out at a football packed stadium. It's a tremendous honor, but it has to feel pretty cool that you were recognized for having such a standout athletic career.
Yeah, that was unbelievable weekend. Like I had my closest friends and family there to support. Like it was just such a surreal experience. And to be on the field and be Miss Two Bits and that whole Florida tradition is truly an honor to even be considered and to be nominated and to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Definitely a weekend that I will never, ever forget. And yeah, go Gators.
They could use a little support, I think, on the football
I
field.
know. That's okay. Forever a Gator.
Well, you think you're still going to be involved in the world of tennis going forward, what your role is, if it's this path? I should also mention, you said Gators. I know you've been pumping up, and I got to see her firsthand win that title, McCartney Kessler. So the Gator line's still going. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Gator line's always through and through. It's a strong line. So I will always support, college athletics in general, but I have a secret biased favorite towards all the Gators. So to see like Ben McCartney and all of these, Anna Dana Leela, she plays doubles, she's top 20. Like to see them all do well is obviously near and dear to my heart.
You think tennis will still be kind of in your ecosystem, in your sphere of what you do and what you accomplish this career and beyond?
100%. I always want tennis as part of my life. My dad always said, like, keep the skill. So I still try and play, once a week when I can. I have a few friends here that I play with, and it'll always be part of my life. So it's given me so much. So the least I can do is give back to the space. So yeah.
Well, again, the website's embreewellness.org. Going out, last question. Anything we should be looking out for on the site, or anything you want to tell the audience about if they do go to the website, what to look out for?
Yeah, the website's always evolving. Building out courses. So building out a grocery store course, a grocery store navigation course, building out a holiday course, probably collaborating with the doctor here to do like a more medicine and nutrition course. So be on the lookout for that. Free stuff always, new blogs, social media, like my Instagram handle. I don't know if you're going to put it, but it's Lembree888. So there's always free stuff out there and resources. So you know where to find me if you need some nutrition help.
Right, especially people, I don't want to say myself, but maybe myself, the grocery store can be an overwhelming place. So any direction.
I'm going to send you the course login.
Directions over which aisles to avoid and which to go. But,
exactly.
Warren Embry, this was a blast. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I think the audience learned a lot about just a different side of the world of the sports they love, and can help out a lot of people with what you do. So I commend you for that. Thanks so much for coming on Tennis Channel Inside In. This was fun.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.